All right. Party people in the place to be. Comic fans of all shapes and sizes. This is a brand new episode of How'd We Get Here? And tonight we got a very special guest. He's got a Kickstarter going right now. Going to go ahead and let him introduce himself. How are you doing today, sir?
Hey guys, doing well. That intro you all made with the art from the book, that was spectacular. That looks so good. I was like, that's my comic. Like, it looked like a music video or something. Blew me away.
Thanks. Yeah, everyone seems to like it. We hope people that watch enjoy it as much. But anyway.
Oh, I loved it. So thanks, guys. Yeah, I'm excited to be here to talk to you all about the book.
We have Zack Quaintance with us tonight. Like Johnny said, this is we're going to be definitely talking about your latest Kickstarter that's running presently that has 10 days left, the Death of Comics Bookcase, which is actually tied to your kind of your side gig in comics, or you had a site where you reviewed stuff or wrote articles.
Yeah. I had so Comics Bookcase, if you're not familiar, was a blog that kind of became like a review site, and then kind of became like too much for me to handle, so I shut it down. But I always was kind of like, because some people knew, I always feel like a couple dozen people at least knew it, like remember it, and so I wanted to, when I was like looking for a host for these new stories, I kind of dusted it off, and now I'm killing it.
That's nice. So I recognized it right away because when I first got on Twitter, I think I started following you like earlier on, and you were a fun follow. I did the Swamp Thing read through and stuff, and the read alongs and stuff. It was pretty fun. So
I was like a Twitter personality, and that's actually kind of like so the host for the new book is this like living bookcase. And the idea, because I did used to do a lot of stuff on Twitter, like so we did Swamp Thing, Doom Patrol, we did a bunch of comics, and people wouldn't know me as Zach, even though I'd talk in the first person. They'd call me like Mr. Bookcase. So that's what gave me the idea when I needed a host to make it like the talking kind of personification of Comics Bookcase.
Because and then shortly after I started following you, you did your first Kickstarter for a book called Next Door.
Yeah. That was the Kickstarter ran August 2020, so it was like heart of the pandemic, and then the book came out the year right after.
Yeah, I remember that very well.
I didn't pay attention to this one when it came out, but you're really touching with your comments at the back of the book. Did the book fund really fast, or like was it a very pleasant campaign? I take it.
Yeah, it really was. Yeah, I always forget I wrote it was like a really like from the heart thank you in the back of that book. But yeah, it funded really fast, and it was just kind of like it felt like a community feel, I think, that summer to a lot of us that were on Kickstarter, because we've been at home and everything and kind of feeling isolated, and then like making a comic with so many other people kind of funding their projects at the same time. Like it was just a really nice feel on crowdfunding that summer, like community. Like I remember talking with a lot of the other creators, like David Pepos had his first campaign for the OZ, and kind of getting to meet those people and talk to them about our books. And it was like just what I needed that summer, I think, like not being able to like go out and hang out with people, but that was a good time. Yeah, I forgot all about that I had the letter in that book, but that was really cool.
Yeah, because I got to that part and I'm like, damn, dude, this guy's really coming at you with going in on this. So I'm like, I just was wondering if like how the campaign went to have such a heartfelt message there. Like,
it went pretty well. Like I've been saying, like this time has been a lot different. Like I think Kickstarter was kind of on easy mode back then, because like everybody was home that year. A lot of people had extra money, and there weren't as many creators on Kickstarter. So I think that campaign we did like $7,000 with a $3,000 goal. But I didn't have to work nearly as hard as I had for this one. Like Kickstarter is a lot different, like with everything that's happening with social media. Like you can still like get attention and kind of get around the algorithm, but man, it's a lot more work these days.
Yeah, and you gotta kind of have like not safe for work in the title, and like 8 variants and shit.
Have some titty covers and
like that drives me nuts. Like I spent 3 years saving money for this book and like carefully writing these stories and like kind of recruiting some of my favorite artists ever, and then there'd be like a comic with tits on it that's just like going nuts and made $2,000 yesterday. Like,
Yeah, and they get an artist like to do like the super sexy cover that just does the cover art and that's it, and then anyway.
they make so
We
much money, so much money.
It's crazy. It's mine. Johnny and I we don't understand it. Every time it happens, we're like, we just don't get it.
Yeah.
Like, you
Just
just have to
don't get
block
it.
it out. Like this is not the same. This is not the same kind of project I'm doing. Like it's not the same audience. It's a totally different world. Like, but it does show up. Like you'll have your like mother-in-law or somebody back it, and it'll be on the recommendations at the bottom. It's like it's kind of embarrassing.
I just wanted to go back to your first Kickstarter, the Next Door, before we move on to the latest one.
Sure. Yeah.
So, like you said, this happened during the pandemic, and I know a lot of people, because they had a lot of free time, managed to put out like their first comics because, like you said, stuck at home. A lot of people, the jobs were on hold because waiting for everything to kind of get into that new mode, find a new way of doing business. So, was this something that you already had done and ready to go, or did the pandemic allow you to like get your first book out there and get the wheels spinning on that?
Oh, 100% the second thing. Like, um, the artist on there, Pat Scott, he was a friend of mine who'd been following the Comics Bookcase Twitter, who I knew from Twitter, reached out because he was at home and had a lot of free time and wanted to make first a 5-pager, like, and he'd asked me specifically to write something. He'd had a lot of experience with and had drawn some really excellent kind of like fantasy sci-fi blend comics, but he wanted to do something a little more grounded. So he reached out and was like, hey, I want some practice drawing everyday things, like can you write 5 pages for me? And that's kind of how that started. And that was like that, I think everything shut down on like March 13th or whatever, and that was probably like March 20th when we had that exchange and got to work on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I mean, some good things, like you said, did come out of it, and
Yeah.
cool.
Like we wouldn't have had. I don't know if that comic wouldn't exist basically if we weren't in quarantine. Yeah.
And it makes an appearance in your new Kickstarter, so there's a little bit of continuity in there. So that was cool, and I saw that. I think that was what, the third or fourth story. I don't remember, but
yeah, it's a little
when I saw
deeper
that. I saw it. I was like, oh, cool. So you did touch back on your first book. And
what was the team called? Something violence fam.
Fake fight hashtag fake fight fan.
Fake fight fam. Yeah.
They're like viral TikTok guys.
Oh yeah, that had me rolling, man. That was a really funny short, man.
I'm glad you like that one. Yeah, I was always really proud of Next Door, and I wanted more people. Like as I was working on this one, I thought it'd be really great if like people would be hooked by like the Nick Cagnetti art or the like horror story that opens it, and would also then like get to Next Door and be like, "What's this? I wanna catch up with this and read the first one." So that was kind of the idea, was that like inspire people to go back and read the whole thing.
I forgot to take a look at add-ons on your campaign. Can people still get copies of?
They can, yeah,
okay,
yeah.
There you go.
Yeah,
so,
there's a limited amount. I think there's 25 of both covers, and some are gone. But yeah, they can. It's a rare opportunity to get kind of a first print of that book. Pat also has a bunch if you see him tabling. But.
Okay, and we're talking about Next Door. You also have some really sweet covers for your new Kickstarter for Bookcase.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah.
Wolverine homage. Is this actually going to be die cut?
No. So I wanted it to, but like, as an independent creator, that's a big logistical lift. Like, maybe someday, like if this is successful enough, we'll come back and do like a limited die cut version, but it'd be perfect for that.
Yeah, we've gotten some of our buddies that come on. We're like, oh, they wanted to do a foil cover, and he was like, the cost just for one foil cover, like he's like, I have to sell the books for like $40-$50 each because it costs him almost, well, I'm talking Canadian dollars there, but he's like, cost me like probably between 30 and 40 just per book to have the foil covers made. So he's like, it's a
whole
frustrating
thing. Yeah, it's a whole thing. But that cover would look excellent if I could
die
find
cut.
a way to do that. Yeah, this Raoul Allen to that cover.
I love the once you read the book, you see like all the shorts there and the slashes, and I like the way they're all represented. But the werewolf priest, man, he just looks really cool on this cover particularly. Like,
Yeah, that was the thing, like, except for Nick, because he created the character he did the cover of, but both of the cover artists, when we started talking, like I showed him some of the shorts in progress, and both of them were like instantly like, I want to draw the werewolf priest. Like that was
he is bitching, man.
Oh yeah, gotta love that cover too, eh?
Yeah, and it's cool. Like if you look at the way so it's the werewolf priest kind of bursting through the confessional wall, and if you look at the way the debris is going, I don't know if you noticed, but they're all like, there's a bunch of little crucifixes.
Mm-hmm.
And John was talking about on Twitter, like I asked him if that was a pain to draw, and he said yes. Like, his hand hurt after that.
Yeah. So that's John McCrae who does that cover. So people probably very familiar with him with his work on. I think he's working on Judge Dredd at the moment. He did the art for DC's Hitman with Garth Ennis. What's another one?
With Garth Ennis, man. He did
Yeah.
Troubled Souls. He did which turned into Dicks. Like that was a long running series they did together.
Yeah, he's done quite a bit of work for the big two.
A lot of 2000 AD stuff as well, not just Dredd. He's like,
yeah, and I think he's got more recently a book with Gary Duggan. I think it's called Dead Eyes.
Dead Eyes. Yeah, they're working on the second arc right now.
That's right.
Yeah,
which is a very cool book. Yeah, I love John's work. I think it's excellent.
I forgot. Joe told me they were coming back with that because, like, I didn't know. I remember I was reading that back when it was called Dead Rabbits. And
yeah.
The
they
first
had to
two
change the
issues.
name.
Yeah. Cool. So what? There's those. You have 3 covers.
Yeah, and then there's Nick Cagnetti did one of the characters. So he drew that. He's the only one who drew his story, but also did the variant, which I thought was cool because it's like a superhero. To have him do like people who want the first appearance of this character. I know some people like that kind of thing, so I had him do that. He did the variant for that one.
And you go in on AI hard in that particular.
Yeah.
You have a bone to pick with AI.
But I kind of feel like so I wrote that like I don't know last April or May. I kind of feel like people have gotten even angrier about AI since the time I wrote that. Like,
yeah, good call, because you would have, this would have had to been kind of an older topic in your mind, and like right now it is like the topic at hand with the whole Andrea Sorrentino thing that just popped off. Other applications like that have been coming out about AI art.
Yeah, I did worry for a minute. I was like, what if AI art just totally goes away and people are like, what is this about? Like, what is he even talking about? But
yeah, I suppose, right? But
seemed like a possibility.
Yeah, it pops up. You see a little controversy in here and there that pops up every now and again. So
yeah. I don't think it's going anywhere. I mean, especially for people in comics, it's going to continue to be
I think just
hot topic.
Yeah,
just big companies in general are going to be using it. I mean, there's no way around it. When they can save money, they're just the almighty dollar, eh? That's the bottom line, and that's what drives a lot of decisions when it comes to business. So
yeah, especially if you don't really care about the quality, like it's a win-win for them.
Which is isn't anything new. Not caring about the quality, just pumping it out. Everything's disposable now, right? Everything, technology, clothes. I mean, everything's made to last for a year and then get rid of it and buy the new one that comes out the following year. Follow the trends and the fashions and we're a disposable society, right? So
it's like a constant existential threat. That's what that story was. It was like the existential threat of AI was kind of, and then also I knew there's a bit of a Spider-Man like Steve Ditko homage, and I knew Nick Cagnetti loves Spider-Man, so I felt like that was very useful to tempt him into working with me. So.
Yeah, I like his design too. It was like the white line paper, the yellow with the blue line paper and everything. I like that. It was pretty.
If you've ever worked in an office, like you'll know the memo pad right away.
The memo pads, yeah. Yeah, when I saw Nick's name, I was like, oh shit, because I read his Pink Lemonade when it came out. I think that came out on Oni, right? Oni Press. and I was reading that. Yeah, and that was fun. I enjoyed that. It was like a love letter to. I felt like it was a love letter to Mike Allred's Madman. That's the vibe I got from it. Yeah,
Nick's style is like he's heavily influenced by Allred for sure. Yeah. No, he's really good, and he just keeps getting better too. And he colors himself. And like when the colors came back, they were pretty bold. I thought for that story, like I thought maybe more of like a traditional like big two kind of superhero coloring because it's what. But he like the panel in the upper left there with the punch and all like. I just love the way he's colored the background there. It looks so cool.
Yeah, I think it's good. I see what you mean. Like he could have muted him a little bit more, got more of that retro look. But I think it's kind of cool. It looks a little better, like a little.
100%. Yeah, like he took some chances, and I think they all landed huge. And that story is gorgeous. Like, yeah, Nick. I mean, he's got some other stuff coming. If you can follow him on his Patreon, he's kind of teasing it, but he's got some really cool stuff in the works, like a horror comic he's working on with Dan Ziegler writing. Like, yeah, Nick's got. I mean. Bright future for that guy.
You said Danzig's gonna write a comic for him? Like
no, Dan Ziegler is the writer.
Oh, Dan Ziegler. Okay. I know that Danzig used to write comics for Verotic, so I was like, okay.
I think he still puts out the occasional comic.
Yeah, he totally does. Yeah.
He's definitely gonna probably have to get into that not safe for work stuff we were talking about if he's gonna work for Danzig, though. All of his comics that I read all had Padingers in them and stuff.
Well, that would do well on Kickstarter. Especially, that's the other move on Kickstarter is to have a celebrity of any kind attached to it. Those all do well.
Yeah, a lot of the bigger publishers are moving there. They're moving because I saw the Lumberjanes collection, the slipcase collection from Boom is. I think it just launched recently on Kickstarter. So I was like, Boom has been. I think the first one they tried was with the Keanu book, right? The
Berserker. Without
people bitch, but that made so much money. I can see why
millions. I think it grossed just over $1 million, right? I mean,
and that really opened the floodgates, I think, for other publishers to be like, why don't we mitigate some of our risk and do stuff with Kickstarter? Yeah.
So then you have the debate on whether that helps to bring exposure or if they just gobble up all the money. Right? There's the two arguments. You get some creators that say we think it's good because it brings in newer audience to the platform. Then you have other ones that say, yeah, but they're only coming there for that book and they're only funding that book and they're not sharing their money with other lesser known creators on the site. So you had the both sides kind of debate going on.
Yeah. It does help to have more people just have familiarity with Kickstarter because like I'll have it trying to show friends and family the link and they don't even know, like, they don't know how it functions or like that. Cause my last campaign, like the week it wrapped up, people were like, cool, now where can I buy it? And I was like, did you see what I was talking about the last 30 days? You could have bought it at any time, like, except for now.
Yeah. Oh, you gotta.
Good one.
I know. My mom calls me like, "What? How do you do this thing again?" And and it's like when you're not there, you're trying to explain it over the phone. You can't sit there and show them, right? So it's like what do you mean down in the? It's just so frustrating.
I had to like log in. My dad just eventually gave me his Kickstarter login, and it was like. Had me do it and back it for him.
Back it. All right, I'm going with the most expensive.
Retailer exclusive.
You're gonna want a commission, trust me.
Yeah, 2 commissions. Oh my. Yeah. Hey. Yeah, so
it's an interesting way to make comics.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I mean, Johnny's the one who kind of got me onto Kickstarter. I think. What was it, Johnny? You sent me a link for. Well, actually, I backed
Twitter.
It
was she with the cutout the die cut face thing that Comic Stripe put out that Ryan K. Lindsay wrote.
Oh yeah, I that was a great book. Yeah, I remember that one. Yeah,
that was the first one. Johnny sent me the link to that, and then all of a sudden, you start getting like things that are popping up, and so since then I've been.
It was a great day for that, though, man. That, like you said, during the pandemic, dude, like that was Kickstarter heaven, man. Like
it was, yeah.
Like, there are so many books on there still, but like there's I don't want to sound like a dick, but like so many of them just don't have the same appeal that a lot of the ones that like in the during the pandemic were coming out. There was just so many exciting books popping off, you know, all the time, and like I'd missed out on so many because like I could only back so many, and like kind of like to go back and find some of the ones that I missed if I can remember.
It's hard. Yeah. It's hard. It's hard to cut through the noise on Kickstarter now. And then like, I don't know, I'll back them, and I have like a stack here that like I was really excited about and just haven't made the time to like go through my stack of Kickstarters, you know. I need to be better about that, like keep a list and read a couple a week.
Oh yeah, we hear. I'm right with you there. There's so many. Like, it's crazy.
But that's part of what I was trying to do with this one. Like we made the whole book ahead of the campaign because I feel like people remember your book and remember what they were excited about it the most, like the day the campaign ends. Like, and then so the quicker you can get it to them, the better. Because I remember with the last one, like there was a comics bookcase logo sticker that went out for all physical backers. It was like a stretch goal. You might have one in there.
Do I have one on that? I don't. I have it. I have it somewhere. It's not on that, but I have it somewhere.
Yeah. But some guy tweeted at me and tagged me, and he's like, "I don't know where the hell this sticker came from. Do you know?" And I was like, "Dude, that was with the book that I worked really hard on and was really proud of." So, I always remembered that. So when it came time to do this project, I was like, "Let's try to fulfill. Like, it's going to take longer to save the money and pay everybody ahead of time, but let's try to fulfill like like within a month of it. Like, use it like a more traditional comics pre-order system.
Yeah.
So people still remember it and are really excited. And hopefully, the hope is that more people will read it and talk about it, and it'll just be better, you know."
Oh yeah, people. This book is 100% complete. We've read it. It's very good.
Thanks,
I
man.
have the link for it in the description, and it's in the chat right now. So like, if you're interested, you want to check this book out, which I highly recommend. Like, that's how you do it.
Thanks. Yeah, and it's funded. So like now, any money we make, we're coming up on a stretch goal, which will be cardstock covers and paper upgrade, because that's my favorite thing to add to a book. But any money we raise now, we're going to make a sequel as well. So help us make a sequel without having to save money for 3 years. That'd be great.
What kind of paper you aiming for?
Whatever the highest quality. Like I want it to be so heavy you think you're turning 2 pages.
Yeah, that's nice. Yeah, I feel you on that. So let's just get into the book a bit. Let's let people know what it's about. So it's called Death of Comics Bookcase, which we touched on. People, so that's kind of like a call out to your site that you kind of, well, it's still around. You can go read the older articles.
You can read the
really,
archives, but
yeah.
nothing new. Nothing
Yeah.
new's been on it for a while.
Yeah. So that's kind of a wink towards your site from before. And basically, it's set up like kind of like Creepshow, Tales from the Crypt. You have a living bookcase that tells stories, right? And so like these kids want to get out from the storm, and there's this old mansion, and this weird, exuberantly excited bookcase just presents himself to these kids, wanting to tell them stories, and they're all freaked out. And then that creates like an anthology style book, because each story is its own little thing that the bookcase tells these kids. And so you have 6 stories, is it, in this one?
Yeah, counting the bookcase framing device, it's 6. So there's 5
6
stories, and then the 6th one runs in between them.
Yeah, and I love it because well, the main let's say like the bookcase, the storyteller, the main that's drawn by Ryan Lee, who we had on the show, and he was working on it at the time he came on the show when we had him on, and he couldn't really talk to us about it. So I loved seeing that. This is what he was working on that he couldn't talk about. So that was really cool.
I think because I watched him. That's actually how I got into your show. Was like Ryan was going on it while we were working on it, and I watched him on there, and he was like, "Oh, I'm doing these interstitials for this anthology, but I can't say anything else," and that was kind of it. And he like moved on.
Yeah.
So some of it's autobiographical too, right? The
totally
last story about the master brain.
Sort of. I mean, yeah, they're all kind of like. A lot of the stories in one way or another about my relationship with comics, like even the framing sequence. So like the bookcase is this guy who's like trying to become a writer, you know? So there was a lot of the jokes he's making and stuff like that's me kind of poking fun at myself. But yeah, the the sixth story or the fifth story, which is apes versus sharks, the Omega Brain, is kind of like my experience with being a lifelong comics fan is tied up in that one pretty heavily. And it's like I kind of started where there it is with the PJ Holden art with Dearbrook Kelly coloring it. Looks so good. But I started writing that one just because I was like, I had a long anthology and I've always loved apes in comics. Like I didn't want to, if I had room to do an extra story, I was gonna put apes in it. Like that was the motivation. And then it became this like more complicated thing about like why, like kind of the role comics have played in my life. I'm actually like more nervous for people to read that story than probably anything else in the book. Like it's kind of I'll make jokes on social media like, yeah, it's apes fighting sharks and it's oddly personal, but that's actually kind of true. Like that's where it went as I like worked on it more and more. And I don't want to spoil it, but I love the last page of that one in particular, and I'm probably going to try to buy it from PJ. So hang it up, yeah. It goes to a weird place at the end.
Gonna have to introduce you to a friend of mine named Manny. He loves apes too. Loves comics about apes. So
it's a long tradition, man. I think it was I forget, it was an editor at DC who said like the apes on the cover sells no matter what they're doing. But yeah.
Where do you think that is that from Planet of the Apes? You think coming out, or is it something else altogether?
I don't know. I mean, I feel like that was probably right around the same time, like late Silver Age, when they were putting all the apes on the DC covers. They just look good in comics. Like that was how PJ's drawn a lot of apes for 2000 AD. Like and that was kind of how we got hooked up to work on that. Was I was on social media asking like, I was like a little worried that like, you know how artists really hate to draw horses and cars, like famously. So I was like wondering as I was working on that if drawing apes was hard. So I just put it out there, and he kind of replied being like, "No, it's easy. I love drawing apes." And I was like, maybe we can work on this.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. I forgot that. I thought of something while you're talking about it. It just slipped my mind. Sorry.
Is it ape related?
No, I don't remember. It was something you said something in it. Oh, yeah, because in the story you talk about how this was a story you're working on. Well, in the story, like when you were really young, like 10 years old or something. Is that actually part of the story? Or is that something you made up for the story? Was this like a comic you worked on as a little kid, like when you were a kid, like these apes fighting sharks, or?
It was actually cats fighting dogs was the thing I would, but that seemed like a little too obvious, like that was a little like, it seemed like it'd be a little too on the nose. But I used to like draw cats fighting dogs, like, and they'd be in fighter jets and stuff. Like, there was a cartoon when I was a kid. I think it was called SWAT Cats.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Do you remember that?
Yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah. I love that cartoon, and so that kind of inspired that like my comics and short stories I would write and draw about these like epic wars between cats and dogs. But then when I was working on this, like I said, I wanted the apes, and it just seemed like too basic in a way to if it was gonna be cats or dogs, So I kind of like pumped it up a level.
So like this book, 6 stories. So we talked about the Nick one. We touched on the werewolf one a little bit with the who's the artist on that one?
Anna Redmond. She's from the UK as well. Yeah, like half the artists in the book are from the UK. She's incredible. Like I love her work. And that's colored by Brad Simpson. Great horror colorist.
Yeah.
But yeah, that story, man, I was saying like we could continue all these in one way or another, but man, like I already have the first full issue written for Werewolf Priest, and would love to like just go right into doing that under the right circumstances.
So you might do like a full, like use these as launching pads to do a full like whatever 30 between 20-30 page comic from
these?
Absolutely.
2 of them were kind of like were conceived as like pitches for miniseries, which was the Werewolf Priest and then Goldmask, the fantasy story. The 8 pages that show up here are more of like a proof of concept for that one. It's not like it doesn't end on a cliff. That one there, with Luke Horseman and Jason Wordy. But we did like it's kind of a sample of like a longer thing we'd like to do with that one. So yeah, those 2 we'd like to build into like 4 or 5 issue miniseries if possible, would be the ideal way to kind of continue those. And then the others are kind of built to be like we want to do 3. I want to do 3 volumes of this anthology. And so it'd be like more apes and sharks, more superhero responsibility, and definitely see the bookcase again, because nobody, like, the title tells you what happens to him, but nobody stays dead in comics, you know.
Yeah.
No, there's a little link at the end there. What
Yeah,
possibly could happen? Yeah.
Yeah, the second one would be Reign of the Comics Bookcases, and then definitely, like, Ryan and I have talked about it, like doing like Cyborg Bookcase, like Bookcase of Steel. And the bookcase that Ryan designed, like, amazing, like the physicality, because it like runs around and falls down the stairs. like
With a
Ryan did all
tongue.
that. Like, that's not easy to have a bookcase like that looks consistent being that physical.
Yeah, and he's great. Like, if you've seen
So good.
his work on like Mountain Head and all that stuff,
Yeah, I
he's
mean,
fantastic.
really what I did was steal the entire creative team from Mountain Head to do that frame, because Doug colored Mountain Head as well, and Sean Lee lettered Mountain Head, and John Lee's did a blurb for the book and he's read it, so I thanked him for that.
Yeah, if you go on your Twitter, you'll see you posted a bunch of the different blurbs. Chris Condon wrote one. What else did I see?
Michael Marisi read the fantasy story, because it was kind of barbaric. Barbaric is, I think, smart alecky a little bit in the same way as our like, they're not your traditional kind of fantasy stories. They're a little like, I don't know, they have a little attitude to them, I think.
Yeah.
Kind of skull kicker-ish.
Yeah, or like Skull Kicker is good.
Oh, Jim Zub, goodness, yeah.
Definitely. And I love the design of that the gold mask, the fantasy character that Luke Horseman did. He's another UK artist, does stuff for 2000 AD.
Did we touch on all the little stories with the creative teams, or are we missing any?
We did Next Door as well. Yeah, I think we kind of touched on all of them a little bit.
That one to open it up. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I did not, because I read Next Door first. I did not expect a follow-up to it in this, because I thought this was going to be kind of all horror stuff. So when Stoned popped back up talking to his internet date and shit, I was just like, oh no, what's going to happen?
Oh, yeah. Speaking of expanding, like Pat's the artist. We're gonna meet up like a week after the campaign ends. We're gonna get together and kind of work on, like, I've already written like 20 more pages. Like, that would be another 30-page kind of continuation, more Next Door. And it kind of, like, if you've read the first Next Door, it starts as like kind of a minor disagreement between neighbors, and then really people get beat up by the cops and shot and stuff. And this one would be even crazier. Like, there would be like conflict between countries involved eventually. Like, it's definitely headed towards some great, like, we wanted to keep kind of like mirror the way the first issue was, where it starts with one thing and then goes to totally crazy place. But we probably do that on Kickstarter eventually at a certain point.
Cool.
Nice.
Yeah, I was glad you guys liked that one. I was kind of nervous to put Next Door in there, because like so much of the rest of the book is like so genre heavy, like horror, fantasy, superhero, and then I was like, I don't know if people dig the like more grounded crime comic, but maybe it felt like there's more variety that way.
Well, I backed your first book, so when I saw that, I got a kick out of it. I thought that was great. Like, so anyone who's probably backed the Next Door issue 1, and then they back this one as well, then they'll get a little kick out of it, because it's nice to see you revisit that world, and
That's awesome. Did you remember it and everything too? I was worried about that as well, because
yeah, because it'd been a while, man. That's like almost
like
3 years ago. Yeah. So I backed the variant cover one with the dog peeing on the
which was
on
actually
the sign.
Yeah, Anna Redmond drew, that was her cover. So then when she drew the werewolf story in this, so that's kind of like how I started working with her because she did that cover, and everyone loved that cover. Like,
It was a
they
great
got
cover.
kick out of
Yeah.
it. Yeah. And so I wanted to see her draw a werewolf priest
Yeah.
because she did the dog so well,
It would have been funny if you did like one panel where the werewolf's just jacking its leg on the car tire or something.
That's a great idea. That would have been a really funny variant to do for
Yeah.
this, and to be able
Yeah,
to
do
put them
the
side by
same,
side.
like the werewolf doing it
Yeah, man,
instead.
that's a missed opportunity.
Or
So
you can do it for when you do the full length or whatever you're
Yeah,
talking
yeah,
about
that's
before.
true.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm.
it's a great idea. I'm gonna take that idea.
Yeah, go ahead, man. That's yeah, go ahead, Johnny.
so the dog is peeing on Stone's lawn. That is happening.
Definitely, yeah. The dog. The debate was over whether or not it was the dog's pee that was killing the grass.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was definitely
Any
peeing there.
anyone
Okay.
that has a dog, it's pretty easy to identify. Yeah. Speaking of dogs, I don't know if you noticed, I put I put Roto in the intro.
Oh, did you
In
really?
the
No, I
quick
didn't.
clips, yeah.
I've been using him to market the book.
Yeah, I saw that. So I was like, oh, I'll throw them in the little intro clip. When it's the quick beats there, I put them in two of the quick beats. So I remember when you first got him back on Twitter, you were posting and having a hard time potty training him and stuff.
Oh my
So
God, yeah. So yeah, well, let's talk about him. Like, he's a dachshund, and they're like famously difficult to train. Like, they're so hard to train. Once you realize that like the normal things that dogs are supposed to do, like your dachshund's just gonna refuse to do it, it gets a little easier. But yeah, we actually got him like in between when the Kickstarter ended and when the book was published. So I feel like a lot of people who back the Kickstarter were probably still paying attention to my Twitter and probably saw all the
yeah,
like Roto
yeah,
puppy photos like way back
yeah,
when. Because I'm not on Twitter much anymore.
yeah. Same here. I
Yeah,
was back then. I was a lot. Now I'm
me
more
too.
Instagram more than anything now. Yeah.
Yeah, I love Instagram. But yeah, that was actually like really helpful in writing this to be on Twitter less. To be honest, like I was a lot more productive, like to do all these. Like,
Being on Twitter nowadays will make you actually turn into Stone from your comic.
yeah, I should work something in there where he's like a big X guy. Like after
Mm,
he's like, I didn't really like Twitter, but I really love X.
I refuse to call it X.
Me too.
I just can't do it.
No, it's too weird.
My old brain just works that way. If I knew it as something, that's why I'm always going to remember it. And
Yeah.
yeah, I'm getting to that age now where I'm like, fuck it. It's whatever it was when I remember when I first started.
Locked in. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, is there anyone in particular you actually have the most fun writing though, out of any of the stories you've gathered here?
Yeah, there's kind of like a breakdown where like four of them are fun to write and two of them were really hard to write. And the two that were really hard to write was that like you wouldn't expect it, but the apes versus sharks thing was like really hard to write, to like take that from being like just apes and sharks fighting to like being something like to feel like a full story was like really hard. And then the responsibility one with the like AI commentary was also like really, really hard to kind of, because it started with the idea of like, and I was like joking with a friend, like, what if there was a superhero who was like a reverse Spider-Man? Like when he took on more responsibility, he got more power. And I was like, that's such a terrible idea. I should make a short comic about it, And then like, but like to go from that idea to have like a coherent like narrative was like really, really hard. So those two were tough, but then like all the others are a lot of fun. The one that was the most fun probably was the bookcase, like because I was writing those pages in between like finishing the other stories. So I'd spend like a whole month like really like getting deep into the responsibility in one, and then I'd write one page of the bookcase framing sequence. And so I felt like light, like it was like letting the air out, and like the bookcase is just so ridiculous. Like
Yeah.
it could do anything or say anything. And it was really like that story makes fun of my old blog a little bit. Like there's that part with the closed doors where it's like respected journalist, oh, this door never opened. Like that kind of like the kids are like commenting on like where my old blog kind of went wrong. And then the bookcase is also like this aspiring writer who's just like asking the kid for notes, but as long as it's positive, like so I
Yeah.
had a lot of fun, like kind of poking fun at myself as a blogger and like an aspiring writer and stuff. Um, And then yeah, I mean, if you're writing a like big mutant bookcase running around, it's hard not to have fun. And I also really like the kids that Ryan draws. Like Ryan is like
Mhm.
Ryan's really funny. Like I remember like I had that script done, and then I had to reach out to another human being and be like, "Will you draw this story with a talking bookcase that's kind of a personification of my old?" Like it was really hard to explain to him like
Mhm.
what this was and why he should do it. He like got it right away. And some of the notes for the kids were
Did you catch him and Marty McFly?
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Or like the girl, it was like this character literally is Molly Ringwald. So but that if you I know you guys are big Mountainhead fans, as am I. Like the two things he does, like that's a fantastic comic, but it's got great monsters and it's got great
Mhm.
teen
Yeah.
characters. Like,
Yeah.
and not every artist can, especially like in American comics, can do kids and teens like really well. But Ryan's just amazing at it. That one, like I've looked at these pages a million times by now, like waiting for colors and letters and stuff. That one still kind of makes me chuckle when I see the like big stupid bookcase. Like I don't think it's on the site, but there's like a part where he takes out his glasses
Yeah.
and there's like three lenses. Like Ryan did that. Like I don't think I had glasses in the script. Like that was his touch, and that just cracks me up.
Mhm. Yeah.
And
And
yeah, I really want to do more of that. The like reign of the comics bookcases where the kids are like, it's like later they're at a high school reunion or something, and they're like, there's a little bit of like I know what you did last summer to it, where
yeah,
they're like,
yeah,
and they're like,
that's the vibe. That's the vibe I got. Like for the next volume is probably that's what it's
uh-huh.
gonna be. Yeah.
Like like we planted the seeds where they're gonna be dealing with what they did years later, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. And I just love the personality of the bookcase. Like he's so e exuberant and enthusiastic about telling these stories, and the kids are like, we don't care, we like they don't want it, but
No.
he's just so like there in the moment, right? And like, I just love it. Like he's just, and it's like you can't help but fall in love with that character, right?
That's
The
good.
bookcase
Yeah,
character because he's just so much fun, and yeah, I really enjoyed that. And it's a fun take on like the crypt keeper kind of telling the story and stuff. I thought it was a really fun take on that. So
I appreciate that. Yeah, and then they like rolled out the like that new they're like reviving EC Comics or whatever. So everybody's
yeah, I
talking
heard about
about
that.
like
Yeah.
EC Comics all of a sudden now.
Who bought the rights? Who's doing it?
Oni Press is
Oh, that
is
might have a chance of actually being legit then, though. Like,
yeah, they've got great creators working on it. I know Brian Azzarello's writing, Chris Condon's writing for it. There's a list out there. And I guess they did like a creative retreat where they all like talked about EC Comics and tried to capture the like spirit of it. I don't know, it should be pretty cool. But I don't know if they'll have something as ridiculous as the bookcase, but probably play it a little more seriously than that.
So like we said before, you have 10 days left to the campaign. So people still have time to get out there, back this book, but it's been doing really well. I think I went and looked, and you're at 244, 45 backers. So
Yeah,
man,
yeah,
it would be cool if you could hit the 250
yep.
for sure before
yeah.
the end of the week or whatever. And I mean, and it's always that last 48 hours you always get a little boost. So who knows? Maybe you can get up to 300. 300 would be a beautiful. Would be pretty
I'd be so
awesome.
thrilled. Yeah,
Yeah,
like
that'd be a pretty awesome mark to hit. Yeah.
honestly, at this point, like I just want more people to read it. Like I'm so proud of it and everything, like pulling the whole thing together and like how ridiculous. Like I think it's like wonderfully ridiculous. Like so, I just want like as many people to read it as possible. Um, so yeah, I'm trying to like I'm more concerned with the backer number than anything at this point. Like it'd be really cool to hit 300.
Yeah, yeah, because you have 10 days left. You're already at pretty much, let's say, 250. So
Yeah, and there's a lot of people, you know, you can save it. A lot of I can see how many people have saved it. So it's like
mhm,
if I could bring in even 1/3 of the people who've saved it, like I would get to that
to
300
that number.
number. Yeah.
Yeah. So hey, we'll keep your fingers crossed for you,
I
man. Hope you
appreciate
hit
that.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I like it. It's cool hearing how you guys react to it because it's like I didn't know like if people would be turned off by the anthology format or if like I wanted it to kind of hold together and have common themes between the story. And if
Mhm,
you notice, there's like a part and responsibility 15 where he's reading a Werewolf Priest comic. Like there's little things like that tried to have it make it feel like a full book more than like a broke up anthology.
Yeah. I think that helps a lot with a story like that format, than as opposed to like just a bunch of separate stories that don't have anything to really connect them to, aside from maybe like a vague theme like body horror. Then everyone writes their own body horror, but there's no like thread that kind of ties them all together throughout. So it's good. I like that because, like you said, there's a lot of anthologies on Kickstarter. And I know it's a pretty big undertaking, getting all the creative people together, and so
coordinating schedules was a whole thing.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to ask you, like, because the other one was just one issue. You had your team, so this is like multiple teams. So how did you find putting this book together? Because it must have been a much bigger feat to do than your first book.
Yeah, man. Like, so there's 20 different creators, counting the cover artists, that worked on this book. Yeah, it was tough. I mean, and it's especially tough when it's like you're working with a lot of them who do work pretty consistently with publishers, so they have their like set schedule. Especially like colorists and letterers have their schedule where like they're hitting deadlines for publishers and kind of like working your stuff in around the edges. So that like it just becomes a whole thing to be like, I don't want to enforce deadlines, but that was part of it, to like kind of like stay in constant touch with people. Will be like, oh, do you think it'll be done this month? Like, can I get it to the letterer this time? But yeah, it's just I feel like I got really good at polite emails, like in the course of working on this. But but I think the big keys to like coordinating everybody was I offered everyone a pay rate in advance. Like I took my time, so I was able to save money and do that, and then offered them a flexible timeline. Like, hey, like I'm hoping to launch this next year, but you're my first choice to work on this. If you could do it anytime in the next 6 months, like happy to wait, And so I think that was really key to like getting everybody involved. And like all 6 of the artists were the first person I reached out to to draw the story, which was really cool. And I spent a lot of time like with Ryan, like with Mountain Head, and like making sure that it would be something he would like to draw, like that it would be like in his wheelhouse and something he'd be excited about. And I did that with all 6. So that helped. I think everybody felt, well, they told me they were excited about drawing it. So
there you go.
Yeah.
And it's not as big of a commitment for them either, because like an anthology, so each story is about what?
7 to 10 pages. Yeah.
7 to 10 pages. So like like you said, they're already working on some other stuff, and they might have like a little break in between projects where they could kind of fit this in, because it's not a full 30 some odd page or like a 5-issue series or something. So
with the 2000 AD folks, it was probably just like working a regular gig, because they draw about 7 pages a week for their strip in 2000 AD. So it'd probably be typical work for them.
Yeah, that's a good point, Johnny. Like all 3 of the UK artists are 2000 AD people, and man, they like PJ drew his in 10 days or something. Like within 10 days of him being like, I'm gonna start this, he was done. Like yeah, they're very practiced with the short ones.
They run weekly, so they gotta have their work in, man.
Yeah, because he was coming off, he'd been doing the main Judge Dredd story like as it was running as we were working on this. So yeah, he was used to the pace of it. But yeah, that helped, like me being not having worked with anybody in it but Pat, like that helped them, I think, be able to commit to it, because it's not like a year of their life or like even a month of their life, to draw this stuff.
So do you have feelers out for the follow-up to this? Like are you gonna do follow-ups to these specific stories, or do you have like other shorts that you might launch in the next
one? Good question. The next one will be I have a plan for it, and it'd be a mix of like half new stuff and half continuations from this book. So it'd be a good mix, depending on what artists are available and how it kind of comes together. And then, like I said, like the Werewolf Priest, like I'm trying to pitch that, going to shows and talking to editors and showing them the pages and stuff, and hoping that that or Gold Mask, might be a successful pitch with a publisher. That'd be really cool. Not have to go to the Kickstarter route, but still keep working on the next collection on Kickstarter.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good way to do it too, eh?
Yeah, because you always hear about these like, or you see art sometimes shared like these really cool pitches people did that nobody saw, and so I thought it'd be cool to like kind of simultaneously have a pitch out there, but also like share it with people.
Yeah. Yeah. So you get to make your anthology out of like a few pitch ideas, and then people can read the pitch, and then because it's self-published, right? You're not tied down to like you could sell it to anyone afterwards,
Yeah,
right?
we own it. We
So
own all of
yeah,
it. So
yeah,
the
yeah.
idea is like 300 Kickstarter backers would be like clamoring for a full series or something like
Hmm.
after they
Yeah.
read this, and then I could take it to like editors and be like, look how popular it was.
So do you, like Johnny asked, do you have the follow-up? Do you already have a few ideas pitched out? Are you going to introduce any new short stories in there, or
Yeah. Yeah, it's a mix. It'll be a good mix. There's like I think Gold Mask may return for the second one.
okay?
There may be more apes and sharks, and then there'd be like um a couple, like I have kind of the artist in mind, but I have and the story I'm trying to write, but I haven't finished. I haven't fully scripted anything yet for the new one, but I have like the genre and the artist in mind for two brand new stories. Like I want to do a like kind of an espionage story,
Okay.
which is a genre we didn't really play with in this one.
Mhm.
Um, like kind of noir espionage would be cool, I think. And then more there's a little bit of meta fiction in this one, and like I can't help myself but continue to like kind of do that. So that'd be the second one in the new book.
And you're going to look for the same page count? You think you're going to go a little bigger, seeing as how this one was pretty successful, or
Yeah, I think I want to do a trilogy of these, right? And I want to keep them all 48 because
48?
then
So
yeah.
consistent. Okay.
Yeah. And like we were talking about, like coordinating 48 pages anthology with 20 creators is tough. Like I don't want to add
Hmm.
like a seventh story in the next one or something.
Yeah,
I
you
don't know
already
if I
got
could.
it. You already
Yeah.
got the model down, so you'll just stick with it. And yeah,
Yeah, I know like how much it costs and how long it takes and all that. Like
yeah,
less surprises that way.
yeah,
And then the really cool thing would be like, I don't know, 3 years from now to have all of them done and like be able to like put out a big hardcover of all three.
yeah.
Yeah, that's the
That'd be
dream.
cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. Well,
So do you have
yeah.
like a ballpark idea of when you might do the follow up? You around next year, you'd think?
That's the aim. Yeah. Right now I'm exhausted. So like thinking about doing this again at the same time next year right now is tough, but that my original plan was every spring to have the new one for 3 straight years. Um, but I need a week off to like nap after this thing wraps up. Like, it ends May 2nd, so I think if you ask me again like May 10th or 15th, I'll have a better idea of like
After you've taken,
yeah, maybe next fall. Maybe we'll push it so like it'll come out next year, but in the fall.
So have you figured out your fulfillment? You're going to do it. You're going to take it on yourself, or you got a company to?
No,
You're going to
I'm
go
doing
through a
it
company
myself.
yourself. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean my wife will help me. So the two of us
yeah,
will like that's what we did last time. We had like an assembly line of like write the address, tape, pass.
yeah. There you go. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of you just do it over a weekend. But it's all designed. Like we got John J. Hill who he designed like God Country and Nail Biter and some like
Hmm.
the Schlub most recently. Like he did our logo and he did the book design. And we've got like process stuff. There's like a deluxe. There's a regular edition and a deluxe edition. And the deluxe has like 12 pages of process stuff. So he did some really cool design. Like he just sent me the proofs last week. So like as soon as the money clears, it's going right to the printer and like knock on wood, but hopefully out to people this summer. Be great to. I'm going to Heroes Con in in June. I'd love to have it like in hand, walk around with a backpack full of them at the show.
Hell yeah, man.
Which Heroes Con? Where's which one is that?
That one's in Charlotte, and if you've never been, like that's like my favorite show, like out of all of them. So many great artists, and like yeah, like that. I think last year, I know Nick and Ryan were both there. But like, and the kind of comics you guys cover, like I feel like you would both really love that show. Just the type of artists they get there.
Yeah. Do you have any other conventions or shows or anything you're going to be attending throughout the months, the summer months, or?
Yeah, I'm gonna try to make it to San Diego. We'll see. It was a little. I went last year and it was easy because none of the Hollywood people were there. So like a
Yeah.
really easy year to go. Like but I'm local to DC area, so I'll go to Baltimore Con in September.
Hmm.
And Small Press Expo they have here. That's my con schedule this year.
So San Diego, that must have been a breath of fresh air going there without all the celebrities.
It was great. Yeah, I'd been in before the pandemic with all the Hollywood stuff. But yeah, this year was like all comics and you could run into people so easily and like it's just a little less crowded. It was
Must have
that
made
was
it feel like
Oh, because of the
the old days, you know?
That's
Yeah, the
why
strike.
nobody
Yeah,
was
yeah.
there. Okay, I was like tripping. Like, why wasn't the other people there this year? And I'm like, oh, the strikes. Like, I
they
was
were
being
all on strike. Yeah, so there was no like usually when you go there's people like camped out sleeping on the sidewalk for the Hall H like movie trailer reveals and there was you could just walk right in. It was all video game stuff in the big halls and toys. But there was like a ton of comic stuff. Yeah, it was really cool just hanging
That'd be
out.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, so old school veterans of San Diego Comic Con must have been like, yeah, this is like the good old days, you know?
Yeah, they were like in their element.
Yeah, we talk about that a little bit when we have people on. Like, a lot of people enjoy the smaller conventions because it's like pretty much just comics. There's no
Yeah,
celebrities and
man.
stuff.
Yeah.
So, mm,
That's why I like Heroes and Baltimore are both like that. Like they're both comic. They might have some wrestlers there or something, but they don't really have like movie stuff.
yeah,
Yeah, they should start calling the big ones media cons, in my opinion.
yeah. So
Yeah, like New York. Ugh.
I've never. We have a few friends that go every year. So
Oh
yeah,
man,
they said
if I had
last year
the
they were.
chance, I'd go. I'd go every
Yeah,
year if I had the chance, but like, it's kind of not feasible. A
New
lot of
New York has an amazing artist alley. Like there, and it's like San Diego, the artist alley is like really cramped and pushed in a corner. But New York, they have a whole separate hall area for the artist alley, and it's amazing. Like the artists, they're just sitting down there drawing. Um, but yeah, it's a. I always leave going to New York like I have to go back to work that next Monday, and I'm always like way more stressed than I was before I went to the show. It's,
yeah,
yeah, it's like not a vacation.
yeah. You take yeah. That's always the dilemma, right?
Yeah,
Like when my wife and I go on vacation, we always try to do like if we have 2 weeks and it's only we let's go that first week so that the second week we have that week to relax and unwind before going back to work. You know, like
yeah, like
when
it's
you're
like a
on it.
re-entry to regular life. You know?
Yeah, exactly. Like when you take a trip, you get like you say, your flight comes in on the Sunday. You get home, it's late Sunday. You got to unpack and everything, and then you got to go right back to work on the Monday. It's like, oh, it's such a bummer.
crunch.
It's
Yeah,
awful. Yeah,
yeah, it is awful.
that Monday is the worst
Yeah,
feeling.
yeah.
Yeah, but you guys, I recommend Heroes Con if you
Yeah.
ever the chance. Hearty recommendation for me.
And that's North Carolina, you said? Charlotte?
Yeah, Charlotte, North Carolina. Yeah.
Okay.
Mm.
Well, maybe
And when is that one on? You said the
Mid-June. I
day
think it's like
mid
June
June.
14th. Yeah.
Okay, so coming up in a couple months.
Yeah, I'm already excited.
Cool. Anything else? Do you have anything else you want to plug? You have your socials. People can go follow you on your socials.
Yeah, I'm more active on Instagram and I'm on Blue Sky. I'm Zack Quaintance on Blue Sky, and then I think it's ZackQ23 on Instagram. And then there's also separate comics bookcase Instagram that's just all art from the book and like these little animated videos. So like,
Yeah, I saw those. Those are pretty cool.
yeah, a friend of mine I went to college with is a video editor who helped me out with those. I was pretty pleased with. I don't know if like they're driving any backers, but they look really cool. So
I thought they were really fun. They're fun little teasers, right?
yeah,
It's pretty
yeah,
cool.
like the werewolf one has a scream in it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's where you find me. And then if comicsbookcase.com is still a thing if you want to go poke around the archives and like look at the kind of stuff we used to write about way back when. But
Do you still do writing for other sites
I write
and
for
stuff like that?
yeah, I write for Comics Beat off and on. I do I one of the things I did on Comics Bookcase was this top comics to buy. I do it every Tuesday like with all the new stuff. Like I'd read 20 to 30 new issues that were coming out each week and recommend like 5 of my favorites. I still do that every Tuesday at the Beat. You want to check it out?
Cool.
Great.
That's the main thing I do. Yeah, I used to read 30 issues a week. Now I'm down to like 20 for like quality of life reasons.
Yeah.
It gets to be a lot after a while.
So what are you recommending these days to people?
It just wrapped up, but one thing I really liked was Dark Spaces Dungeon. Scott Snyder and Hayden Sherman. That's the scariest horror comic I've read in I don't know how long. Like it's about claustrophobia and kidnapping. Man, it's just like very disturbing, start to finish, in the best way if you like horror. But,
Nice. I'll have to look
yeah,
into that one. That's the first issue just came out, or how many issues?
it just wrapped. It's 5 issues, and the 5th one just came out last week.
Okay.
Yeah,
All
so
right.
just
I
I think
get
the
caught
trades.
up. I've only read the first one about the firemen, which was really good.
Yeah, so it's the same team, Scott and Hayden. It's a totally separate story, but the same team from the fireman one, which was also like Hayden Sherman. They drew Wasted Space, the Vault book,
Yeah.
but what an artist! And the stuff in the Dark Spaces dungeon is just so disturbing. Like I don't want to spoil any of it, but man, I'm a little claustrophobic, and it was like giving me nightmares.
He's actually been a fun artist to watch grow, man. Because I remember he drew the few for Sean Lewis, and like he was
Yeah,
scratchy back then, man. But like now he's tightened up. Like he's actually become like a really kind of talented artist, in my opinion.
really polished. Just keeps getting better and better.
That's pretty interesting to watch that kid evolve. You know what I mean?
Another one I really liked was this Night People book that for Oni Press. I think the 2nd issue just came out last week.
Okay.
And it's Chris Condon, and I forget the artist. But it's another weird, disturbing. I'm in like a dark space with the comics I'm reading right now. So
No,
those
I
are
mean,
2.
your anthology is a little dark around the edges too, so
Well,
it just fits.
Next Door definitely is, man. Like you get your kind of like really dark Ed Brubaker on in that particular setting. So I guess
Yeah,
Ish too. I guess Condon's there as well. So yeah, I can see why you're a fan.
yeah. There's definitely I remember thinking because when Pat asked me to do that, like kind of draw everyday stuff, I was like, well, Ed Brubaker does that. Like he doesn't need aliens and stuff, and it's amazing. So let's try it.
All right, man. Johnny, do you have any questions you had left you want to wrap up with?
No, I just really want to tell people to like check this book out, man. It's a lot of fun. It's a total blast. It's some really good stories, some really good introductions to some fun worlds that I think would be really fun to check out again. Like I liked Responsibility. I can't name one that I disliked. You know what I mean?
Oh man, that's awesome. That's awesome. I appreciate that.
And like Johnny said, the link for the Kickstarter is in the description or in the chats if you catch it on the replay. Go back this book. It's still running for roughly another 10 days as of this recording. So go out there and give Zach's book a follow. And man, it doesn't disappoint. So you're in for a treat, anyone who backs this.
Thanks, guys. Yeah, that's awesome. I'm glad you liked it.
We're going to be taking a week off, though. We'll see you guys in 2 weeks whenever we'll have a new episode. All right, take it easy, everybody.